My life is beautiful. In fact, it was beyond beauty. Within it, I felt a pleasure indescribable by man. It was euphoria incarnate. My husband's kisses always sent my heart aflutter. My son's laughter warmed my soul. Each day was just a blank slate waiting to be filled with the colors itching behind every memory we create. An experience I wouldn't give up for the world. I often think back to that fateful day, the day this appreciation began. I walked into that pharmacy without an inkling as to what waited on the other side. When that saleswoman told me that a single pill within her calloused hands was the only medication I'd ever need, my mind didn't fully grasp that message, but my heart was willing to try. And try I did, the pill on my tongue and the water rushing it down my throat. At first I felt nothing. It wouldn't be the first placebo I've taken, but the effects were all too real as I closed my eyes. Blood. I could feel the blood rushing beneath my very flesh. The sound was amplified by my pulsing ears. Strangely, it was more soothing than a mother's lullaby. Soon, the sound was accompanied by an image. It was an empty room, painted a sickly shade of gray, with the corners blotted out by darkness. As soon as my eyes adjusted to the dim surroundings, I noticed a cloaked figure standing silently in the corner. The emotions coming from it made a chill go through my body. I didn't want to speak to it, but the more I remained quiet, the more I felt very alone. As though sensing my loneliness, the creature stiffly lifted its head. The face was thickly hidden in the shadow of its hood. I could smell a rancid odor as the distinct sound of a creaky hinge sounded. It was opening its mouth to speak. "Are you happy?" Its voice was raspy, as though it was a heavy smoker. I looked around at the different corners of the abyss, as though looking for an answer. My attention was snapped back to the figure as an angry, dreadful hiss came from behind its hidden lips. "Of course I am," I replied, astonished. Suddenly, the room became filled with laughter. It sounded inhuman as it filled my very soul with disgust. It was so loud and instant that I almost fell from fright as my body became racked with pain. It felt like my limbs were being pulled apart by invisible forces. The figure had no sympathy as it took a silent step toward me. In the midst of all the mocking chortles, it asked once again, "Are you happy?" Unable to withstand the pain anymore, I fell to my knees and wept. No, I'm not." The laughter became silent at once as I spoke the truth. My limbs still burned though. Even though I couldn't see its face, I could feel a smile come across it. "Are you willing to give up everything?" "Yes," I sobbed. "Just make this pain stop." I felt a familiar calloused hand stroke my cheek. Though the action was loving, the skin was cold and unfeeling. I lifted my head upward. At first my eyes had met with nothing but darkness, but soon the room lit up and I gasped. All around me I could see thousands of laughing demons. Each of them looked like a failed lab experiment, as arms jutted out of stomachs, legs out of ears, and tails for tongues. The floor was a pool of tainted blood. My feet were now a gross shade of red from being stained for so long in the inch-deep liquid. Decaying bodies were hung as ornaments around the room. Most of them could have only belonged to children. The little bodies were carved out as their innards decorated the floor. I didn't know where to look as I tried to avoid the sights before me. My eyes quickly found focus as the cloaked creature removed its hood. I tried to scream, but No sound came out. Its face was composed of all of my loved ones' innards seemingly grafted together by some mad doctor in an attempt to make it look human. I recognized my son's green eyes staring at me from the monster's cheek as my husband's lips remained open on its forehead. Their combined blood dripped painfully from the lacerations of the botched surgery. I couldn't move, and the only sound that could be heard was the rushing blood. It was my worst nightmare, hollowed out and intensified. Soon my voice found its way into my throat, and I screamed. I screamed a blood-curdling scream that even scared myself. This creature didn't flinch as my voice filled the void with terror and woe. I just felt its hand grasp my shoulder and dig into my skin. I could hear the flesh rip apart as she clawed into my bones. With all the strength I could muster within me, I shut my eyes. My mouth was now shut, but my scream continued to play like a broken record. I wanted to plead for it to stop, for with it brought the memories of the massacre I just witnessed. But I was silenced once again, and my body was tired from shock. Finally, it released me. I felt it mocking me as I dropped like a bloodied lump on the floor, worthless and beaten. Angrily, I felt the monster lift me up and force my eyes open. I had to look into its various eyes as it reached a long, dirty nail toward me. It began scrawling underneath my eyelids. The pain was unreal. I had no more voice left to express my ordeal. So like a rag doll, I was limp in its hands as my recorded scream melted into the resumed laughter of my morbid audience. My life is beautiful, and I enjoy every waking moment and cherish every sentiment that it offers. I love everything and everyone. In fact, when the day's over, I feel sad. When I have to sleep, I feel even sadder that I'll miss so much. Sadder still that whenever I close my eyes, I see the same message until I wake up. Are you happy now?